Welcome back. So we're going to continue with process and people for marketing mix. Now, when we're talking about process and processes, what is the process we will use to deliver our services to our customers? How are we going to deliver these goods to the final consumers? And that was why earlier on, when I was talking about distribution channels, I was emphasizing on the process, because they go hand in hand. And the systems in terms of how you're going to get that final consumer, the brand to the final consumer. So these processes, they may include website user experience, delivery time, delivery methods and services, in-store wait time, communicating with customer support, and aftercare. And that's why earlier on I said when you talk about process, it's more about putting together a system which could work with technology or not, but it's more about processes and procedures and how you're able to, and this is where capabilities comes in, because it's with the resources that a business has, resources in terms of the human resources, but then also the technological resources, and how you're able to put everything in place to then bring out something that defines you as a brand, but then also kind of positions you or gives you a competitive advantage over your competitors. So this becomes essential in terms of these processes. I always give the example of Amazon, whereby I said Amazon, with that's the service delivery system they have, they're able to put together a process in terms of not just the delivery process, but also their packaging process, because I know that they have like a packaging system whereby now they even have robots that tend to help them their packaging, again, and to kind of increase the effectiveness and efficiency of time delivery. And again, it goes back to the process when you talk about time delivery. So at the end of the day, they're able to put together, through the capabilities that they have, they're able to put a more effective process that then improves on the customer experience, and that's what's most important. So as I talked about the delivery time, so giving the example of Amazon, website user experience, using AI and other technologies to make the experience much more fun, much more memorable for the customers in terms of what is provided, and the information that is given is all part of that processes in terms of that. You have the delivery methods and services. Again, I gave you the example of Amazon and the delivery time, but it's because of the delivery method and services that it's able to give you a more effective delivery time in terms of when your package gets to the front door. And then you also have in-store wait time in terms of how the procurement process and how things are then processed to get to the final consumer. And really here is just about, creating a kind of add and drop system, or a kind of packaging system whereby it incorporates the people, but then also the process that that works for the business towards making sure that the packages are delivered on time. And then communicating with customer support in terms of the customer care system. You see this in banks, whereby I'm sure a lot of you, I know this is typical of a lot of individuals, whereby they'll complain about the customer care in banks, but I'm sure some of you have had good experiences with some of these customer cares. So in terms of that, and I think it would be nice for you to drop a comment and just give us a little bit of an idea of some of the experiences that you have, but more and we want the positive experiences, and whereby what are the what kind of customer care processes and system, or what customer care interaction were they able to give you, and how were they able to deliver on time and fast and promptness to give you what you wanted at that point in time, which is something that one looks. And this is, again, it falls under the processes. And so even it's not just about banks being able to provide a good customer care policy or process, but actually implementing and making sure it's standardized and consistent across the board is essential. So yes, most times you see people saying that it's very likely it's the individual or the person in charge that's so nice. But for any organization, once you're able to incorporate a proper training system, and for any process, training is essential, because once people are trained on what they need to do, and it becomes part and parcel of them in terms of habits or policies and procedures, then automatically it follows suit, and it continues even if they're not there. The next person will also do the same because it becomes part and parcel of that process. And just to give you a short story, I can recall, I always give this story of Emirates, that's Arab Emirates, when one time I traveled, and the beauty with how that's the hostesses of the plane, they were able to attend to us, really baffled me in a positive way, maybe because I'm used to what I typically see in Nigeria, and again, it's not so good as we know, but again, it's something that can actually be fixed easily. It's just about the consistency of training and putting policies and processes in place, and making sure that it's implemented. So for example, what I saw in the Arab Emirate was a woman that was attending to different people, and she was smiling. And then all of a sudden, she was doing something that didn't have any human contact. I think she was trying to put her luggage up. And what I noticed with her was that once she was trying to put the luggage up, she stopped smiling. And once I saw her stop smiling, I said, I wanted to call her for something. I had a baby then, my son, he was a baby then, and I wanted to ask her for hot water. But when I saw her face, and there was no kind of positive reaction, I became hesitant. But then I just said, I need the water, so I have no choice. So I called her. Immediately I called her. Her face lit up. And it surprised me. It surprised me because I would say it was more mechanized, because it was something, it didn't look natural, but then her smile looked natural at the end of the day. And what I realized was that she was trained to do that. That consistency was there because she was trained. She understood as part of the policy procedure, and training. When I mean training, I'm not saying 1 day, 2 day training. These people will go for maybe 3 months, 6 months training, whereby they have to be grilled on how to act, how to behave, and then of course even be maybe that will then determine if they'll be taken or not. So at the end of the day, they're able to know the expectations and what is expected of them, and they're able to follow suit. And of course, our typical systems here in Nigeria, that is not done. And this is part of the process that we're talking about. So being able to vigorously train individuals towards your values and belief system and organizational culture is also very important, because it sets the precedence of the brand image of that organization. And I think that's something that we lack, that we need to really work on when it comes to that, in terms of the process and improving on that. Then we talk about the people. The people here, of course, we're talking about those that work for you. So it goes hand in. That's who are the people who represent us, and what are the skills that they need. So it goes back to what I'm just talking about in terms of the story that I just gave. So it goes hand in hand with the process, but you have to change the mindset of individuals. You have to then train them and make sure that what you've trained them actually sticks, and it then becomes part and parcel of them, because again, they become your representatives. They make up the brand image of that company at the end of the day, and then sets the tone. So again, just giving an example of banks and how a lot of times, people will say, this bank did this, or this bank is this. At the end of the day, if you really look at the situation at hand in terms of the experience, it's usually an individual that caused that problem. But because the individual represents that bank, at the end of the day, they then determine the image in which people set for that organization at the end of the day. So again, the methods for doing this includes distributing a social media policy that then brings out your brand image of who you are as individuals, and what your standards are, what you expect, or what the community expects from you. Then paying attention to communication skills when hiring customer facing staff, especially those at the reception, at the customer care, those that then directly reflect on who the image of that organization is. So the example I gave you with Arab Emirates, the example I gave you with the banks is all in line with that, and knowing that those represent who you are as a company. Then providing training on good communication and then imposing disciplinary measures to deter misbehavior, meaning take action in whatever happens. If a staff is rude to a customer, then you have to take action in terms of what happens, so that it then sets precedence of what will happen to others if that happens in terms of that. And this is so important, because again, your people become you, they represent you as an organization, as a business, and you have to make sure that at the end of the day, you set the standard and pace of what is expected of them and how is expected of them to behave and act. Then that way you're able to get the best out of them. All right. So with that, we're going to go to the next topic, which is physical evidence.